Good morning.
Good morning.
If you'd like to stand and dance along and sing along, feel free.
I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know the light of love is shining in your eyes. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. Happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I know the light of love is shining in your eyes. I am happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. In peace and harmony, I'm gonna let it shine. Peace and harmony, I'm gonna let it shine. Peace and harmony, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
The light is green. Whew, that was wonderful. Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bailey, if you don't know me. I'm a member of Unity, welcoming you to the Unity of the Hill Country, where we offer a positive path for spiritual living. Let us pray. We give thanks for this beautiful day, full of possibilities. We feel God's presence and power in us and around us. We are truly blessed, feeling wholeness. We extend this blessing to everyone. We bless all people, regardless of what they believe or who they love. We know that there are many paths to God, many names for God, but only one God. And God is expressing through all creation. We come together this morning to experience and express the Christ Spirit that dwells within each of us. And so it is. Amen. If you are joining us on Facebook from home, we would like to take a moment to say welcome and connect in consciousness. Please feel free to comment and introduce yourselves. This is our time to be together and to share in love. Feel free to post and to tweet about Unity of the Hill Country. And we ask folks here and on the Facebook to silence your phone so you don't disturb our gathering. Unity is a global, inclusive, spiritual community. We offer practical, uplifting resources to help people of all faiths apply positive spiritual principles. Unity encourages personal initiative and growth. Please join me in affirming our mission and vision statement: to live consciously, celebrating the divine potential in all, as well as our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in this universe, God the good, the omnipotent. I think Reverend Bob has some.
Good morning. As you can see on the board here, I got a couple of things I just want to point out. If you haven't already, please pick up one of the keys to the kingdom out there on the table. And if you know someone else who could use a little boost to their resources, go ahead and grab one and give them to them. But this will give you all of the notes and all of that of this 7-week series that I'm covering, Unity's general prosperity principles. So our intention is that if all of us as individuals are thriving, then this congregation as a whole can thrive. So we have this visibility project we've been working on. You probably already have some connections with organizations in town, so if you pick this one up, it's right next to Eve's. And then just check the list. Do you already have a connection in some of the nonprofit organizations and stuff we have? Please check and let us know if you do. Our idea is to just kind of reach out to all of these various organizations and say, hey, rather than us telling us how we are willing to help, what do you need help? You know, what sort of things do you need? Because we've got people who are willing to volunteer. And we had our first blood drive here last week. So yeah, we had 19 people. I know the guy at the blood bank was happy. We are going to do this like every 2 months. So on your calendar, it's always going to be that third Sunday of the month, the same Sunday that we have the potluck, but obviously it's every 2 months because that's as often as you're going to be allowed to donate. Now, we also did a survey last week. We were trying to figure out, you know, some people would say, well, maybe we should move up the potluck in November because otherwise the 19th might be too close to Thanksgiving. But what we found was, hey, it seems like most people said, no, let's go ahead and do it on the 19th, even if it is 4 days before Thanksgiving. So that's what we're going to do next week. I do not have a question for you this week, so I'm going to hand the microphone back over to Carolyn. So.
Thank you very much. The Daily Word helps keep the Unity movement connected worldwide since 1924. And this week's reader is Soul, who's playing with his phone.
Thank you so much. Thank you all today. Yeah, thank you. All right, today's daily word. Good morning, I'm Soul Mustafa, and it's my pleasure to read the daily word with you today. We join with millions of daily word readers around the world in receiving this message. The Christ candle is lit, representing the divine nature within all of us. Today's daily word: I walk in grace and peace today. And before I go into the word, I do want to say just a little bit, because I've been walking in grace and peace for a couple of months now, and it feels wonderful. So this is a good message to share. Thank you Robin for letting me do this today. She was supposed to do it. I walk in grace and peace today. I give thanks for the activity of God in my life that appears as grace. This divine gift manifests as beauty of the world and the people in it, as a comforting presence of God within and around me each day. I'll get my composure. I do not have to do anything to earn grace because it does not result from my attitude or actions. It flows from the infinite love of God within every person and surrounding every circumstance. It is the indwelling presence that sustains me in challenging times and lifts me in good times. I accept grace with gratitude when I have stumbled along life's path and received unexpected blessings. This balanced love fills my heart with bliss and peace. I live in the presence of infinite love, believing each unfolding event in my life is leading me to my highest good. My grace is sufficient for you, 2 Corinthians 12:9. I walk in grace and peace today. Thank you.
Our congregational song this week is New Horizons, followed by our meditation in silence. Yes? Well, they left it off the script, Bob. Okay. Okay, excuse me. The Unity Movement started in 1889 with an answer to prayer. Myrtle Fillmore was healed of tuberculosis, and we are honored to pray with you. Place a prayer request in the prayer box near the door. Email us or go to unityhillcountry.org and click on Ministries. Thank you, Bob. I found my place. Our congregational song this week is New Horizons, followed by our meditation song in silence.
New horizons and before our view, God is blessing me and you. There are castles in the air, dreams that we can share. Love is everywhere too. New horizons we are sure to find in our present state of mind, and with Christ to show the way, we know every day that the sun will rise as the bluebird flies over new horizons for me and you. In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there, peace is there, truth is there, God is there.
God is deep within each of us. So go remember who you truly are. If you haven't already, just prepare for meditation by closing your eyes, taking a nice deep breath. Let go of thoughts of the past or concerns about the future. Be in the moment. Feel the back of the chair against your back. Feel your feet on the floor and the energy grounding to the earth as if you're growing roots. And then notice the tip of your nose right now. Is it feeling cool or is it warm? Your physical body is now safe, grounded. So let's turn within and draw our focus from our head to our heart, from our heart to the very center of our torso, the center of the spiritual being having the human experience. We are open and receptive to God's living spirit of truth, divine guidance that is always here. So we open our minds to those divine ideas, trust and know what to do next, what to say next. In unity, when we do meditate and pray, we start by praying for others. So bring to mind any individuals, any families, any groups, any situations you'd like to pray for now. In addition to Ukraine and Israel, we know that there are 32 armed conflicts in the world right now. So yes, we pray for peace, but we also pray for the resolution of the conflict. There are needs that are not being met. So we see those coming to the surface, people willing to be candid with each other about what they need. We include all of the prayer requests received here at Unity of the Hill Country in our prayer box and through email and our website. And we see and we know that there is a divine substance, a divine potential, and the divine perfection that is in and expressing through each of these prayer requests as wholeness, as their highest good, today and every day hereafter. We see and we know that Unity of the Hill Country is thriving in consciousness, people, and revenues today and every day hereafter. The God presence as Unity of the Hill Country is a divine magnet, attracting anyone who can benefit from who we are and what we are about, attracting health, prosperity, love, and joy to Unity of the Hill Country and all who are guided here today and every day hereafter. I now invite you to take the words I'm speaking as your own prayer words in this meditation this morning. I keep in the forefront of my mind that whatever I focus upon will expand in my life. So what am I focusing on? What do I assume is going to happen? As I look at my actions, what do my actions show that I am preparing for? What am I taking positive steps towards? Peace, abundance, health. I choose to start acting like I'm ready to embrace what it is I desire. And I need to release all of the old stuff. As I prepare for 3 minutes of silence, I embrace and express the divine idea of renunciation in silence. Thank you. I now radiate love to all God's creation and accept love in return. As I move through this coming week, I let go of things that no longer serve me, both in my mind and in my experience. I will exercise the law of circulation I choose to unclutter my life. I choose to open my finances, looking at how much I earn, spend, save, and owe. I'll get specific with my goals. I choose to finally write them down. And for my ever-growing awareness of the omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence of God, I am grateful. I pray these things in the name and the nature and the power that we know is symbolized by Jesus Christ. And as we draw our focus back to the sanctuary, consider the words written by one of our co-founders, Charles Fillmore. We are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. We acknowledge thy presence and thy power, O blessed Spirit. And by divine wisdom now erase our mortal limitations. And from thy pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to thy perfect law. Amen. Let's sing together the Alleluia chant. Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. Okay, virtual hug. Good morning. Last week I mentioned, the facts about the world and the truth about the world. Would you rather be right? Would you rather be happy? Facts, taken from a scientific approach, can change over time. For centuries, people were absolutely sure of the fact that a human being could not fly. The first crack in that fact started back in the years 200s in China, where, of course, we had the little candle lanterns that, we see in many places now. On the next slide here. They found that hot air, trapped is, will lift. So people started thinking, well, how much does it take for a human being to fly? And the centuries would go by, and finally in 1783 in France, they figured out how to have one that was big enough and with enough lift for a human being to get inside. But then there was a problem, and that was you can't steer the thing. It goes wherever the breeze goes. In the 1800s, it became one of those things that was one of those divine ideas that needed to come into fruition. There were people all over the world looking at, how do we do this? How can a human being fly and with some direction and steering? A lot of people were trying flying machines, trying to mimic birds that would flap wings, but it wasn't working. And it wasn't until we had high-speed film and photography that what we learned is that birds put their wings up, they actually spread out their feathers and turn them, and then when they get up, they push down, and that's what gives them their lift. So through the centuries, though, there was a physical law that nobody had really grasped yet. And as human consciousness grew, suddenly the physical laws of aerodynamics were put together by British engineer Sir George Cayley in the 1940s. He was the first person to identify 4 aerodynamic forces of flight. First, how much does it weigh? Then how much lift, how much drag, and how much thrust, and the relationships between them. So as it got to the late 1800s, people were really just, that was a gung-ho thing. And the World Fair was in Chicago in 1893. And on the next slide, there's a fellow named Octave Chanute. He lived in Chicago. He was a railroad civil engineer. He retired in 1883, but this became his passion. So he actually organized a conclave of people from all around the world to get together and share what they knew about, or were their experiments about flight, what was working and what wasn't working. And then, sure enough, people would share information, and Octave actually was a consultant for these two guys down Dayton, Ohio, that ran a machine shop. You know, now, I don't know about you, but I learned it was a bicycle shop. Well, yeah, it's kind of like a bicycle shop, like a mechanic shop is for us today. It would handle and put together anything they needed to do to make a bicycle run, but many other things as well. Chanute had published a book after the 1892 fair, and the title of it was Progress in Flying Machines. And sure enough, after a lot of experimentation, in fact, he did a lot of his experiments just southwest of Chicago on the sand dunes in Gary, Indiana. He worked with Orville and Wilbur Wright, went out there to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, caught the sea breeze, and on December 17th, 1903, first time that a vehicle actually flew with a motor, heavier than air machine. The physical laws are always there. And one of the things we see in our human history is that we have to be willing to open our minds to these divine ideas, let them come when they're ready and when we are the appropriate person to express them, and then run with them. We're in the 4th week of a prosperity series. I know I should offer, and we've got this book that we're handing out for free. If you'd like a copy, just send us an email or whatever. We'll go ahead and mail it to you. But unity has taught the prosperity principles for well over 100 years. And we've been challenged at times. It's like, well, what keeps the right? And then we're like, well, have you ever cracked open the Bible and looked at the 4 Gospels? You know, Jesus taught in parables. I think they count there are 38 various stories that Jesus told, and half of them is, how do you get by today? You know, how do you pay your bills? You know, how do you get the food you want, et cetera, et cetera. I want to share a story. Now, I know some of you know this already, others don't. But in this story, notice how many times the number 5 is mentioned. In the Gospel of Luke, 9th chapter, 10th verse. Taking them with him, Jesus withdrew by himself to a city called Bethsaida on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee. The crowds were aware that he was there and followed him. They welcomed him. He began speaking to them about the kingdom of God and curing those who had need of healing. The day was ending, and the 12 came to him and said, send the crowds away that they can go into the surrounding villages, countryside, find lodging, find something to eat, for we are here in a desolate place. But Jesus turned to them and said, something to eat. They looked at each other and said, well, we have no more than 5 loaves and 2 fish. Perhaps we should go buy food for all of these people? Oh, they're getting snarky with Jesus. I mean, you know, it says here there were about 5,000 men. And he said to his disciples, have them sit down to eat in about groups of about 50. They did so, and he had them all sit down. He took out the 5 loaves, the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them. He broke them into pieces and kept giving them to the disciples to set before the people. Everybody ate. They were satisfied, and when the meal was done, the broken pieces they had left over were picked up and filled 12 baskets. Unity takes a rather unique approach to the Bible, along with some of the other New Thought denominations. And of course, there's this amazing book, The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, which has compiled the symbolism in the Bible. It's like, why should we care about something that happened 2,000 years ago? Because these stories are like stories told to us to help us understand spiritual truth. You and I know that Harry Potter did not exist, but amazing spiritual guidance from those stories. A little engine that could make it up the hill, okay? These are all things evoke in us. Now, in the Bible, we need to recognize that every character, every situation, every location is symbolic of something that's going on inside of us as our consciousness grows. So here we have this fishing town on the Sea of Galilee called Bethsaida. We look it up and it says a state of mind in which we're open to new ideas. In fact, whenever they're near some place that you can go fishing, because fish represent ideas. It's interesting, though, it's noted that this is a desolate place. Well, someplace that appears to have no productivity, worthless. Have you ever had a situation in your life where you look around and you're like, oh, this is a worthless situation? Or you're just, shaking your fist at God, why me, kind of a thing. Or it looks like you have no clue as to how you're going to get out of this mess. Now, Jesus represents this Christ consciousness that is within us. And when we're willing to turn to it, that pure spiritual essence of who we are, it will guide us in what to do next. Now, it mentions Jesus' hands, and that is the working power of consciousness here in our physical world. He looks up to heaven. This isn't because he thinks God is up there. What he's saying, or what he's symbolizing, is we're focusing on the one true source of good. And often you have to look away from the mess you got down here to remember who you truly are. As I mentioned, fish represent ideas. Bread represents spiritual substance ready to be demonstrated in the world. Quantum physics, everything is vibrating energy. And our minds, our words can shape them or dissolve them. I mentioned the word 5. Okay, there are 5 senses that we have: their origin, character, and purpose. 2 fish, polarized energy in our world. We have the ability to say yes or say no, to have faith or have renunciation to the things in this physical world. Now you'll notice, okay, we got 5, we got 50, we got 5,000. 0 represents as long as it's needed. So 5,000 is, yeah, it might take a while, but it's all the time that's needed. And since this is the 5 senses, this is like all of the various needs that come up for us. Oddly, it says 5,000 men. Now remember that in the Bible, when you have a male character, it represents our thinking nature, and females represent our feeling nature. So you have all of these thoughts that come up about the things that you need in your life. And then we have the 12 disciples. They represent aspects of ourselves that if we're there, we can say, follow me, let's tackle this situation, this challenge in our lives together. If you're not familiar with them, the 12 disciples actually represent faith, strength, wisdom, love, power, imagination, understanding, will, order, zeal, renunciation, and life. And then the number 12 is symbolic of completion here in the physical world. So yeah, when you get to a point where it's kind of like, I just don't know what the hell I'm going to do here. Open up, say, okay, what to do next. Maybe I won't see the end of this journey, but I'll at least know which direction to turn, what to do, what to say, perhaps what not to do, what not to say. So, like I mentioned, we're prosperity principles. So here we are in the 4th week of this, and it's based on Keys to the Kingdom course that was put together by Reverend David Owen Ritz. So I want everybody to have one of those spiral-bound playbooks that are out there on the table. Usually, I like to do some sort of prosperity program, either Sunday services or a class, because it's one of the more practical ways of applying spiritual principle in the physical world. You know, here we've got this 24/7 prayer room outside of Kansas City. It's been going since the 1890s. People contact with prayers, and they keep track of, okay, what categories do these fall in? And there are three that are always at the top. Healing, prosperity, and relationships. We all have these challenges, and like I said, Jesus was addressing so many of his parables to, okay, what do I eat? What do I wear? Et cetera, and our anxiety about that. So in the first week, the first key, and like I said, it's in the book, commitments to the program, recognizing the power of tithing, 10% of our time, our talent, and our treasure. Number 2 was hold the vision, being willing to open our minds and have a broader vision for our life. Rather than looking at our capacity, let's consider our potential. And we start to write it down and return to that list, narrow it, be ready to roll. Number 3 was build a new awareness, examining our general assumptions about life. I gave you those 7 spiritual truths to take a look at. I never thought of it that way before. And that would help us open up to the spiritual truth of the content. Now, if you missed any of these, you can go on to our website, unityhillcountry.org, scroll down. We've got it on Facebook, we've got it on YouTube. You can watch the lessons, and just each one of them are labeled, so just go ahead and check the stuff out. All right. So this week is make room for the new, the law of circulation. This is also known as what goes around comes around. What do my actions show that I'm preparing for? A lot of times we're moving forward. Now, how many of you have ever been on a boat of any size? Have you noticed that you can't have one foot on the boat and one foot on the sailing? And yet there's so many times people will hedge their bets. It's kind of like, well, yes, I want to go sailing, but I feel much safer on the dock. And that kind of split energy is a bit of a challenge. I mean, how can you get anywhere? Think about how many things you can apply to your life, that sense of like, yeah, I'm holding things back. I'm hitting the accelerator, but I got the other foot on the brake. Whatever we focus on is going to expand in our lives. So what do my actions show that I'm preparing for? What am I taking positive steps towards? Another objective is we want to work consciously with spiritual law. It's always here. It's always driven by our thoughts, by our words. It would be nice to recognize these spiritual laws and work with them rather than inadvertently creating the things we don't want in our lives. And the beauty of it is it works regardless of who we are and what we're about. It's partial. It's like soil. You can plant so many things in the soil that'll grow. I saw this one panel cartoon. You see a farmer out in the field. Wow, this wheat crop looks great. I could have sworn that I planted corn. So yeah, whatever you plant, and if you've done any gardening or you need to tend to a lawn, you recognize, yeah, the weeds will pop up, and they can be pretty persistent, just like the negative thoughts or feelings that'll pop up. But what to do with this weed? Being willing to pull it up with the root. It's like the law of gravity. It doesn't matter if I'm the wealthiest man in the world or the poorest man on the street. If I let go of a coin and it drops to the ground, gravity's going to pull it down. Gravity doesn't care if you're the richest man in the world and you step off a roof. I have this running joke that anyone who says that this was all created by intelligent design hasn't been paying attention. It may be divine order, it surely is divine wisdom, but as far as the human understanding of intelligence, no. Universe will always fill a vacuum. So we dig a hole on the end of the beach, we suck the air of our mouth, the cheeks collapse. So if we're going to step into the flow of energy and allow it, and you know, the amazing thing, you think about the power of water. You know, we've seen so many news stories of floods and all that, and people have no idea that even just, you know, a couple feet of water flowing, I mean, can knock you off your feet. It's just, and of course, water created the Grand Canyon. So step into the flow. Mentioned the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is thriving because it's got an inlet and an outlet. And yet, coming south out of the Sea of Galilee, the Jordan River flows into the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is dead because it's stagnant. It has no outlet. Everything just kind of pools up there and goes bad. So I've got some good news for you. This week, as far as applying these spiritual laws, we can have some fun. In fact, I've got, you know, 3 assignments that you have the choice of for this coming week. Number 1, unclutter your life. Have you noticed that you have too much stuff? How many of you have a junk drawer? You know, all of that various stuff that's been stashed away. We learned very well, our parents and our grandparents. My grandmother was born in Chicago in 1895, and the house she grew up in is the house she died in 1976. And she had one of these huge attics, and she saved everything. But when you, for those of you who experienced it, I mean, it was 1929 to 1939, the Great Depression was kind of like, we better hold on to this because we might need it someday. But all of that stuff is vibrating energy, so wouldn't it be wiser to put it out there and allow somebody else to use it? And talking about too much stuff, have you noticed, you go to visit somebody else's house, that it's usually pristine? You know, and Carl and I would fall into for so many years too. You know, we have our stuff scattered about, you know, piles here, piles there. Oh, crap, my cousins are coming this week. So suddenly we're cleaning up everything, shoving things into closets. And our place looks great. People come in, oh, God, look at how well they keep their home. I am so unworthy. You know, why do we do that to each other? I know Carl and I, up in Indianapolis, we had this wonderful couple, 2 kids, you know, and they invited us over for Christmas, and she said, I'm going to take you up on that. And I said, fine. I understand. You have 1 kid in high school, 1 kid in grammar school. It's a mess most of the time, so let it be. So, Grandma's attic, like I said, she died in December 1976. The influence of the Great Depression, all this, she had every she ever received. You know, and the funny thing is, as the years went by, we recognized a lot of that stuff was valuable, you know, but we just kind of out there. So you get that energy moving. You know, you cannot, if space is filled with congealed substance, you don't have room for something new there. So make room for the new. What have you got stashed? What are you taking positive steps towards? Take what you need. We see so many stories like this. You know, the Israelites wandering in the desert. They get manna every day. And the instruction was, take what you need for today. If you take more than you're going to need, it's going to spoil, and you won't be able to use it. And then in the 2nd book of Kings, there's a widow who's in debt, and they want to take her sons and sell them into slavery. She's like, what do I do, Elisha? The wife popped time, and Elisha said, what do you got? You know, and her first answer is like, I don't have anything. He says, oh, come on, you surely have something. Says, well, yeah, I've got a bottle of vegetable oil. You know, olive oil was the big thing back then. It's okay, what I want you to do is to borrow every vessel you can find from your friends and neighbors and start pouring in that oil. And of course, every vessel she found and borrowed, she was able to fill with oil. Well, you know, this is symbolism of like, you might be surprised at what you have right now, But the most important thing that you have is faith, and being willing to apply that faith to this substance and allow there to be revealed to you some way for this to happen. So, here's a guideline as you move into this week, deciding what you want to discard. If you have not used it, worn it, sat on it, looked at it for 1 year, you got too much stuff. Put it back into circulation, give it away, donate it unless it's completely unusable. Then, when you recycle it, some things we just need to trash, put back into the landfill. So, get started. I'm not expecting you to purge your entire home this week, but it's amazing how, just getting started. Yeah, and I speak as one who is still a student of this thing, because yes, I have stuff too that I need to move on. So, number one, unclutter your life. Number two, open up your finances. A lot of us have this uneasy money. Here again, the Great Depression has influenced our parents and our grandparents about this. But what I have found is by being able to open up and look, okay, well, how much do I spend? How much do I save? How much debt do I have? Do you know that right now there's $58 billion sitting there that nobody can figure out who it belongs to? Have you got a pencil? Or have you got a good memory? The word is unclaimed. Unclaimed.org. Jump onto unclaimed.org. This is a coalition of all of the state treasurers here in the United States. If you click on your state, your name, you might find that there's some money there that you forgot about. This actually happened to me in the 1970s. I went to the 1969 Boy Scout Jamboree, which is the national convention of Boy Scouts held every 4 years. And one of the things they did to ease every Boy Scout had to open up a bank account, and then you'd be able to draw on it, when. And so, like any 13-year-old, I went to the jamboree and forgot all about the checking account. And about 10 years later, I get a letter and a check. Actually, I didn't get it. My in Chicago. Saying you haven't used this account for 10 years, assuming that you don't want it anymore. Here's a check for the amount that was in there. And I learned the amazing power of compound interest. But sometimes, yeah. Hallelujah. So just be willing to just take a look. Another thing you could do, though, kind of like I did back there in 1969, open up a bank account. A bank account for unexpected income. Now I'm hearing you say, but Bob, I'm not expecting any income. Think it through. But being able to take positive steps towards, there's a difference between hoarding money because you're afraid of something and being willing to save for a particular purchase that you have in mind. Of course, the most common one is the down payment on a house. Understand that money is not our security. Money is not our security. We have to have the faith that through some channel, the money that we need will come. God is our source, not our money, not our savings account, not our Social Security benefits. Allow other channels of open as well. Another idea here in this realm is to be willing to do something kind for somebody else anonymously. Anonymous. Just being, that old idea of, just pay it forward, do something kind. What goes around comes around. So finances and allow yourself to step into the flow. And then the third assignment, if you choose to accept it, is to get specific with your goals. The second week, it was like brainstorming, okay? Write down all of the things that you think you'd like to have in your life. And suddenly, as the weeks go by, you're like, that one I'm not so much attached to, but this one, yeah, I'm passionate about this. So now it's time to write it down as a goal. You have a particular car that you want, being able to say, okay, I, Bob Uhlar, demonstrate that I am going to have this particular car on this particular date, say November 1st. But you want to try to write it in the present tense. I now have, or I am now manifesting, this goal. And by attaching what's going on in your mind to your physical world through writing and speaking, it's an amazing power that we've all been given. Leo Burnett, who started the Leo Burnett advertising agency, had a saying. He says, "Reach for the stars. You probably won't touch one, but you're not going to come up with a handful of mud either." So think big. There is power in all of this. Imagine yourself with that goal already fulfilled. Okay, so we've got these assignments. What is it that you'd like to do? Clutter your life, open your finances, specific with your goals. I think you've got them all on your handout. I've got a 2.5-minute video from Steve Hartman of the CBS Evening News.
In Fairport, New York, along the Erie Canal,
How about we walk?
town historian Bill Perret has made it his mission to connect people with their history.
In about 1890.
But safe to say, he has never found a more direct and powerful connection than he did the day the films arrived. Someone found these in an attic, old 16mm home movies from the 1930s, labeled Kodachrome Experiment.
Yeah, I was intrigued. So I took the projector, I took the films, and I started to watch. And I loved what I saw. I saw scenes of our community, and they were in color.
They were some of the very first color home movies. But what intrigued Bill even more was this woman. He says whoever she was, the cameraman was clearly smitten.
And from there, I started doing some research.
He found out the photographer, a guy named Bob Kramer, went to work for Kodak Labs right out of high school. And that girl was his high school sweetheart, Leona Sharp.
She would be 96 years old.
If she was alive.
And I wondered.
He did find an address and went there.
A woman came to the door. She opened the door 3 inches. And I told her we had these films. And the door opened a little wider.
Literally and figuratively.
Yes. And then she said, "Wait." And she disappeared. She came back about a minute later holding her wedding picture. And she said, "Come in."
Here's what Bill learned. Bob and Leona got married right after Bob joined the Air Force. A few days after the wedding, he left to learn how to fly a B-17 and then got sent to Europe to fight in World War II. On the way, he actually flew his plane over Leona's house. This is a picture of it.
And then he wiggled the wings to salute us, and then he was off.
You never saw him again?
No,
Leona says losing him was hard, but finding him again has been wonderful.
couldn't believe it.
After more than 70 years, Leona's love story came rushing back in living color. And even though she did get married again for a while, we got the sense that this was her true love. Not from any particular picture on the screen, just the flicker in her eye. Steve Hartman, on the road in Fairport, New York.
Closing Bible verse, Gospel of Luke, 9th chapter, 17 verse. They all ate, and they felt satisfied. And the broken pieces which they had left over were picked up, and there were 12 baskets full. And may you always be open to God's guidance and grace. And now we'll hear the musical wisdom written by Delbert McClintock.
I'd like to just say that these people here in this music team are such troopers, good sports. We don't ever really know who's going to be here from week to week. And they never know what kind of song I'm going to throw at them. So, and Bob was here fixing the chairs on Thursday, so I recruited him for a verse. So here we go.
much stuff. Too much stuff. It'll hang you up dealing with too much stuff.
Hanging out on the couch, putting on the pounds, better walk, run, jump, swim, try to hold it down, you're eating too much stuff. Eating too much stuff. It'll wear you down, carry around too much stuff. Well, it's way too much. Oh, you're never gonna get enough. You can pile it high, but you'll never be satisfied.
$100 cab ride, fog in, can't fly, Greyhound, Amtrak, ought to buy a Cadillac.
Too much stuff.
Oh, too much stuff.
It'll slow you down,
Fooling with too much stuff.
Running back can't score till he gets a million more. Quarterback can't pass, owner wants his money back.
Too much stuff. Too much stuff.
You know you can't
Get a grip when you're slipping in so much stuff.
Here we go.
Well, it's way too much.
Oh,
You're never gonna get enough. You can pile it high, but you never be satisfied.
Orange ducks shine the shoes backstage, big schmooze. Poker group can't sing,
One awards for everything. Too
Too
much
much
stuff.
Too much stuff.
They just keep on going, rolling in all that stuff.
Too much stuff. Too much stuff.
It'll hang you up.
Too much stuff.
It'll wear you down.
Too much stuff. It'll wear you down. Dealing with too much stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. If this is your first time at Unity, we are glad you are here. And we hope that you are finding a place of like-minded people and a place to belong. We teach spiritual tools that can help you no matter what is going on in your life. Generosity is important to us, and we will donate $5 to a local charity of your choice. Just write your email on a card in our welcome packet and leave it in our office. And you can pick up a welcome packet from the usher on the way out. Or we'll bring one to you if you raise your hand. Is there anybody here for the first time? Thank you. Thank you very much. We are glad you are here. We now have the opportunity to support our spiritual cooperative. You may scan our QR code on your handouts or go to our website, unityofthehillcountry.org, and click on the donate button. And please consider setting up an automatic weekly or monthly contribution. Checks can be mailed to our address at 1016 Jefferson Street here in Kerrville. Would the ushers please come forward, bringing the offering baskets? And together, let us say our offertory blessing. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I give, and all that I receive, and I send it forth with my blessings and my love. open our hearts in gratitude for these freely given donations. We send these gifts forward through our congregation and into the world, blessing all that it affects. Thank you. We have some announcements. Please refer to the schedule and the events on the back of your takeaway handouts. A Course in Miracles, a spiritual improvement class facilitated by Charlie Diggs, meets at 10 a.m. on Mondays. Serenity, an Al-Anon group, meets at noon on Mondays. And if you have a friend or loved one who suffers from addiction and you need support, please visit the Al-Anon. A Center of Calm Meditation group meets weekly at 10:30 a.m. on Thursdays. You also have an opportunity to use the meditation chapel before services on Sunday at 10:15. Please ask for the code to the chapel. If you would like to use this space on your own time. Codependent Anonymous meets weekly on Thursdays at 7 p.m. This is an open meeting for anyone interested, and just visit coda.org for more information. And if you are on Facebook, join our group, Unity Spiritual Network, to stay connected with our community online. Because we care about and love our church family, we want to let you know there is a team of members available for you. And please let us know if you or a fellow member is ill, has had an accident, is in the hospital, needs something delivered to them, or needs assistance in their home, or simply needs to hear a friendly voice. We are here for you. Please contact our office or Terry Conatori of the care team. Betting on Bloodshed opened this week at the VK Garage Theater. Dinner seats are already sold out. If you come early enough for a Sunday matinee, you can still sit in the middle of the action. This is an interactive event set in a fabulous Las Vegas casino, where the audience votes to decide on whodunit. Come see some familiar faces in this production, including Brad, Gilbert, Terry Conatori. And don't miss out on this unique experience. And I understand it is a wonderful play. If you would like an opportunity to serve our community, or would like to start a special project, please let us know. There are many ways to get involved here at Unity. And if you have already signed up for a position on Sundays, check your email for some new schedule. We also have printed copies in the office. And with that, we have come to the end of our gathering. Please circle up, join hands as we sing the peace song, followed by our prayer of protection.